we met as a Council of Governors and raised very grievous issues with respect to the conduct of Senate committees, and in particular the Senate Public Accounts Committee. These are very grave matters that we raised. We raised very grave matters. These are very serious matters. Because when 43 out of the 47 governors of the Council of Governors of Kenya raised matters with respect to extortion, harassment, intimidation, and embarrassment at Senate committees, it's not a matter to be taken lightly. And they appended their signature to that document, that memo. And we sought audience with the leadership of the Senate. And we continue to seek audience. And in principle, certain members of the leadership continue telling us, yes, we hear you, we need to talk. But on the other hand, the committee continues behaving in a very intransigent manner, and they continue to embarrass themselves. Because when you summon governors and they don't show up, or those who show up refuse to prosecute the matter, they're also embarrassing themselves. How is it that these grave matters raised by 43 out of 47 governors, about 4 out of 67 governors, 64 out of 67 senators, cannot be heard? You know, when we're being grown-ups as governors here, we're being grown-ups. If we were not conscious of protecting the integrity of that house, we could have played it out in the public court with respect to evidence that we have. But we are not here to, kill each other as institutions. We kept being reminded that Senate has the powers of a High Court judge in summoning. Have you ever seen a High Court judge behaving in court the way some of these senators behave in Senate? If you want to be respected, if you want to be given the respect of a High Court judge, you must behave the way High Court judges behave in the court. We are not disputing Senate's powers to summon. And in fact, when you are summoned, they say you are supposed to be escorted to the Senate. So which Senate committee operates at night? So until IG Kanja. By the way, I spoke to some of his people and I realized there was no warrant of arrest against Governor Sakaja. The only thing there was a letter from the clerk of Senate to the IG. You cannot arrest a governor on the basis of a letter from the Senate clerk. So we want to tell our policemen not to be misused. This is a political matter. It's a political standoff. When it goes legal, we'll play it in court. When it goes legal, we'll play it out in court. And the people will regret that it never reached that level. But for now, it's a political standoff. It requires a political solution. And that political solution can only come from the leadership of Council and the leadership of Senate. So, we want to tell a good policeman to stay out of this. Mimi nimemaliza, nataka kusema, nataka kupatia. Sorry. We have decided to zero down to this particular committee because of the grave issues we raised with respect to the conduct of certain members of that committee. governors continue to appear in all the other committees of Senate. And sometimes not easy, because you'll find a governor who is summoned at the same time by two different committees. That means there are scheduling problems. And those are administrative, things that will be settled because you can't expect a governor to be in the same committee twice. Sometimes you'll find so many governors are called and the governor is made to wait the whole day. Here the standing order of Senate itself says if a meeting does not take off within 30 minutes, it's called off. Those are things we decided to look the other way and said, every institution has its own challenges. Let's solve that administratively. But this matter of extortion, by the way, we're helping them in a way by saying, let's talk about these things before you go there. Because if each of us went there and played this on Hansard in front of you guys, we'll be putting that house into disrepute. And that's what we're avoiding. When a governor is insulted, they're embarrassed and humiliated in the presence of their juniors, of their staff, and when also governors raise allegations of extortion, is that part of the decorum that the court added in our appearance at Senate? That's a matter that we're trying to resolve. Number two, it's not only CPAC that oversights finances. Even CPIC, the County Public Investment Committee, also looks at finances of counties, and we continue to appear. In fact, a lot of the other sectoral committees also question us about expenditure with respect to those sectoral, with those sectors, be they health or education or agriculture, and we continue to appear. So what we are raising is the conduct of these 4 senators, which conduct is not befitting of anyone holding the high office of a senator.
For meaningful oversight to take place, if the oversight has to be meaningful, you have to have a conversation where you compare notes between the governor who is summoned, the agencies that includes the Auditor General, and the Senate committee itself. But I would like someone to tell me how on earth would it have been possible for the Senate committee, even if they worked for 24 hours, to have a meaningful engagement with 29 governors on the same day? How many minutes was each governor supposed to engage themselves with the Senate if you have to see 29 governors? Because 24 hours, you would have seen, if you see each for 1 hour, which apparently will not even be enough, you'd have seen only 24. But would they have worked for 24 hours? It already tells you those are politics that are being played by the Senate to cover up what we have said is an attempt to carry an agenda that is not part of the oversight by some members of the CPAC committee. There's a time in this country when politics had reached fever peak, and we used to have a Kamata Friday. And I think that is what is being brought back through the back door by the Senate. And if it were possible for that committee to write to governors and say, we have invited you to come and speak, however, the following 4 senators will not be in the committee, we will appear. Because that is our problem. Because you cannot continue engaging people who engage you on a different level that is not lawful with impunity. It is not possible. 67 senators, only 4 have a problem, and the whole Senate, including the Speaker, decides to sacrifice a very serious exercise by refusing to give us an audience to discuss our engagement the way forward with these 4 senators out of the way. That is why we are saying it looks seriously political, and let our administration, including the police, not be used. Let our administration, including the police, not be used by politicians to settle political scores. I've listened to what the senators sometimes say, that we would like a certain governor to be brought in chains in front of Senate committee. How do you bring a governor in chains in front of a committee? How does that contribute to engagement in terms of oversight with the Auditor General and the Senate? Because that sounds like a war. It sounds like a fight. You can take the donkey to the river, but you can never force it to drink. So their intention seems to be flexing muscles to show that we can actually make governors report to the committee, whether they like it or not. That's not really what we are looking at. We are looking at making engagement, not playing politics of superiority. Who is more superior than the other? Who can summon who? That's really not the essence of the whole of this thing. And up until when we have an audience with the Speaker and the leadership and settle this course, or rather settle this matter, we will continue staying away from the CIPA committee, but will appear on all other committees of both the Senate and the National Assembly. Even that CIPA will appear if the 4 members of the Senate, of the CIPA committee, which we have already named in public, will not be in that committee. I don't have to repeat their names. They are known to the public.